Consider the Diffie Q right here, let y equal f of x be a particular solution. Again, when you got particular, that means we are going to find c. That's like a definite integral. So whenever you have a Diffie Q, what's the first thing we want to do, everybody?
Get it on the same side.
Separate. So dy is on the left, so all my y's need to go on the left. So I'm going to come in and divide each side by y minus 1 squared. And then I got my 1 minus 4 over x cubed already on the right, and I got to multiply my dx over, and I must integrate each side. So now what I got to do is I got to do u substitution on the left side. So when I do that, I'm going to let u equal the y minus 1. So du is going to equal dy. So this is going to be the integral of 1 over u squared dy. And over here, I need to bring that x cubed up to the top in order to do the power rule. So when I bring that x cubed up with the fourth, that becomes a negative exponent dx. And then over here, I need to bring that u up to the top, because the only time you do a natural log, I don't know why I put a y there, that should be a du. Whenever you do a natural log, you have to have u to the first power only, that in the denominator. And since this has a power 2, we would not use that. So over here, the integral of 1 is x. The integral of negative 4x to the negative 3 is I add 1 to negative 3, and I stick that underneath. And then I got plus c over here. On this side, I got to add 1 to negative 2, which gives me, u to the negative 1 all over negative 1. And then over here, I'm going to reduce this negative 4 over negative 2 becomes a plus 2. I'm going to move that x to the second back down. And then I'm going to multiply each side by negative 1. Well, let's do this first. Let's first put the negative 1 over u, because that's a negative 1 power. And then over here, I want to get my y minus 1 back in here in the bottom. And I got this deal. So I think I'm going to plug in now and solve. So here's my point right here. I got when x is 2, y is negative 1. So I'm going to stick a negative 1 in here. And x is 2. I'm going to solve this for c. So I got negative 1 over negative 2 is a half. And then over here, I got 2 divided by 4 is a half. So this over here is 2.5 or 5 halves. And then I'm going to subtract 5 halves. So 1 minus 5 is going to be negative 4 halves, which means c is going to equal negative 2. So I'm going to come back down here. It was right here, and this one is where I plugged in the value of negative 2 and negative 1. So the right here is where I got to plug that c back in. So I get negative 1 over y minus 1 is going to equal x plus 2 over x squared minus 2. So now I got to solve this for y. To get a particular solution, we got to solve this for y. Now there's more than one way to do this. So what I think I'm going to do is multiply each side by negative 1 to get rid of this negative. So I got that deal right there. Then I'm going to flip this one upside down. Okay? So, yes. Do what now? Oh, you're right. This should be a negative here as well. Thank you. Yes, all of these change sign. Then I'm going to flip this one upside down and get y minus 1, which means I got to flip this whole thing upside down, which basically means it's starting like this. Okay, the reciprocal means you flip both of them upside down. And then, let's see, so I'm trying to think what the best way to write this is. I guess we could get a common denominator over there on the right side.
You could just leave it the way you had it.
Do what? What did he write as the answer? I don't even know.
Y equals 0. You're finding f of 1.
Oh, okay. Oh, my bad. We could do like this and plug in and solve for y.
Yeah.
Because this is where x is 1. So I got y minus 1 is going to, because it didn't really say to write the solution. But y minus 1 is going to equal 1 over negative 1 plus, oops, not plus, minus 2 over 1 plus 2. So see, that 2 and that minus 2, these cancel out, right? They're 0. So I got y minus 1 equals negative 1, because we have 1 divided by negative 1. And I add 1 over, so y equals 0. And I probably should have actually, I should probably have actually do that to show that I've done the function. Okay? Now, I could have just added 1 over here as well and had y equals this, and I could have put f of x in for y, because he told us up there, he told us up here, he told us up here that y and f of x are the same thing, so I could have put f of x in for the y as well. Okay? Question? All right, I'm going to go ahead and do a couple of the problems off the practice test here, because I had them last class and I did them and I forgot to record it, so I'm going to record now. So one of the questions they wanted to see was number 8 here, so I'm going to do number 8 again. It says the rate at which people consume Pringles potato chips in the U.S. is given by this function right here, where P is measured in millions of cans per year and T is measured in years since 1990. Okay, so this part about T being in years since 1990 means in 1990, T is 0. So that's kind of a big deal that you understand that. The consumption rate triples every 4 years, and the consumption rate in 1990 was 8. So what that means is your T, P of T, the original one, is 0.8 million. But since it's in millions, you just use 8. And then it says every 4 years it triples. So what that gives me is another point. When T is 4 and I triple 8, that's 24 million Pringles cans. So they give me 2 points. So I'm going to use the first one, 0.8, to find C, because I got to find C and K, and then I'll use this point to find K. So I take my original function, P of T, and I'm going to, remember, this is the P of T, that's T. I use this one, and I'm going to plug 8 in for P of T. Some of you did not do this right on the quiz. And C is going to equal K times 0. I hope we all know K times 0 is 0. Anything to 0 power is 1. So C is 8, and there's my C value. So then I'm going to take this C value of 8 and plug it back in for this C right here, and I get P of T is going to equal 8 e to the kt power, and now I get to plug this T in and this P of T in to find K. So I get 24 is going to equal 8e to the 4k power. I divide by 8 on each side, and I get 3 equals e to the 4k power, and I natural log each side, because natural log and e cancel out. And I get the natural log of 3 is going to equal 4k. And then I divide by 4, so you could write your answer like this. You could write it like that. You could also write, I don't know if this was a multiple choice, I don't know how they're going to write it. You could put the 1/4 in front and have it like this. Or you can also know the rule for natural log of the number in front of natural log could also go to be the power of the number after. You could write it like that. I don't really, if it's a multiple choice, I don't know how they write it. So there's your K answer, so we answer them both. Now on your quiz today, you had to actually, it said write the equation down. On that one, it said you didn't have to solve it. So if you had to write the equation down, you'd have to come back up here and put the C in and put the K in. Okay, so you do this, and then you still have a T here. This T, that T you could put in front or behind it. But that T could also go up here to be this with the 1 in the top like this. Now, do you see these? These would reduce. So you can actually even make this a simpler equation. and get a times 3 to the t over 4 power. That's probably the simplest you could get. And if it's a multiple choice, I don't know how they would write it. And then we also have another problem we're going to do, which is a good problem to see after seeing your guys' quiz on your seeing your quiz that you guys took. I'm going to do A and B for you here right now. So I already did this last class, but I forgot to film it. So here's what we do. If you notice, your y values go from -2 is here up to +2. So if you look over here, I put my y's from -2 to 2. And across the top from -2 to 2 is where they're going here. This is -2, and it comes over here to +2. And all you do, if you look, you're going to plug all your x's. So these x's go in. So -2 minus 1 gives me -3 there. You don't even use the y's in this one because there's no y up there. Okay, and I don't really like my slopes right here very well, but all these slopes are -3 going down this column right here. So when I do my little tick mark, what I do is I go down 1, 2, 3, and over 1, and I try to draw that so that it looks like it's going to go down there and hit this tick mark. And all these are supposed to be parallel going down through those little tick marks. They're all -3s. Then when you plug -1 in up there, they're all -2s going here. So again, I try to make this hit right there because that's down 2, right 1, and then go down 2, right 1. You try to make it so they're going to all hit. You see that? And then you got -1, so you hit them so they're going to try to hit these corners. And then these are all zeros, and then these are all 1s. You all see them? So then it says, for this part B is the one they wanted, from -1, 1. So you got to put a dot at -1, 1. If you don't use that dot, they tell you miss it. And when you draw the graph, do not put arrows on them like some of you did on the quiz. It's wrong. You just draw it from where the graph stops, and you go through here. And what you're trying to do is, you see the tick marks? You're trying to get the graph to match up with the tick marks as you get to them. So this graph is flattening out, and by the time you get here, you want a 0 slope right there because all these slopes are 0. And then it starts going back up because of the way these tick marks are. So this is a parabola, is what this would be. Do you follow what you're supposed to do on that? Some of you didn't do that right on the quiz. Anybody else got anything you want to see, or are we about done?